Welcome fellows to Rootstem Gaming, and today we're going to be painting the second gang out of the Warcry set. So it's the Untamed Beasts, the second gang that's actually in the set. You get 9 models in that particular set. I've based in my usual way. I've even added a couple of skulls to certain units. Them skulls are from Games Workshop Ltd, the 100 times skull pack. Just all basic sort of human skulls. A little bit cheaper than you can get them from Games Workshop, to be honest. The majority of these figures are flesh with various different loincloths and fur pelts. So hopefully these are going to be quite an easy paint job. I've sprayed them up grey here. We're going to be using the contrast paints to start with. We're going to be doing dark oak flesh all over the actual flesh tones. And while that's drying, I'm going to hit it with wildwood. We're not going to do that though we're going to do wildwood on the beast's mane, but we're going to do the actual body. We're going to do that with the white, the apothecary white. So that body's going to be slightly different to the rest. I think it's what's known, my size brush will be known as like a medium layer brush. I don't overload everything on these. And yeah, some of these belts are going to be painted up different colours, so don't be too critical if you do need to go over stuff. Go over it, and you can always repaint the gracie back in. So the brown and the flesh has gone on, so that was wildwood brown, and the flesh should be next to it, is dark oak. Now I did the white on here as well, so he's actually been done in apothecary white. Might dry brush that a little bit. I am looking at, I've actually gone back over with some gracie onto some of the areas. So some of the what I would call wrappings, or little kind of like bandages across the wrists, they've been redone with the gracie. So because I've gone over, of course, I've gone over them with the gracie, and we're going to go over them with the not Black Templar, Ballistic Grey, I believe it's called, or Griff Charger. Now I have noticed something. If you notice at the bottom of that pot there, these paints do have a tendency to separate, and I am going to look at, it might be recommended to get some tiny ball bearings. That's some of the companies use for their paints, just to be able to give them a proper shake up when needed. So the wrappings I'm going to paint with Griff Charger, and then once we've done Griff Charger Grey, we're going to have a look at possibly what colours we're going to be able to do for the bone. So what I'm doing next is a bit odd. So we've got this white on there, we've got our flesh colours and bone colours on here. We're going to tidy, well, we're not going to tidy it. What we're going to do is hit your Shabty bone and Rhinox side. Now the Rhinox side is going to go on the leather. Your Shabty bone is going to go on the bones, the horns, and any of the spiky bits, because I'm going to assume that they're going to be bone rather than metal, since majority of these weapons here are bone rather than an actual any form of metal apart from the whip. So the reason I'm doing 2 paints at once is because when it comes to the weapons, we're going to be painting the bone on first, and when it comes to the leather straps, we're going to be painting the Rhinox hide on first. And the reason we're going to be doing that is because when we paint on the Rhinox hide, the spikes are going to be on top, so it's going to be easier to paint the Rhinox hide than it is to paint the bone. And then because we're wanting the Rhinox hide for the straps, leather straps on the weapons, it's going to be easier painting it with Rhinox. So yeah, and any of these little skirts, any of the pelts, we're actually going to be painting that with Rhinox side as well. Might be doing a little bit, just a little, of wet paletting later on, which for those of you that might not be used to wet paletting, I'm going to be able to show you how to do this. Right, so we've got the browns on. Ooh. And then we've also got the bone on. Nice mixture. We're going to hit Doom Ball Brown on all the leather bits as a highlight. So we're just going to use a really thin, this is a very fine detailed brush. We're just going to water it down a little bit. Going to use a wet palette for that. Just try and keep the consistency the same. And then we're just going to put little lines on each of the leather pouches, maybe some lines down the leather things, and then when we put the ink on, that will make it look like a slight highlight and a nice little transition. As long as you get it, you know, a little bit thin, and make sure that it's not too thick when you're putting it on there. We're not going for amazing things. I've also done over cloaks. We'll get to them in a bit. We're not going to be doing those now. I'm also going to paint all of that in Doom Bolt. There is some bone in there which will go back on with the Ushabti bone, but at the moment, once I'm doing the Doom Bolt, I'm going to do all of that as well in the Doom Bolt brown. So let's get those wet palettes out. Mine's already got some stuff on it. If you don't know how to make your own wet palette, there is a video on my playlist, and just shows you how to make one for cheap using some plastic tubs from Wilco's, so for the arm, left-handed, and some kitchen roll and parchment paper. It's not expensive, and I shouldn't really be using this brush for mixing this, but hey ho. What I mean is, if I grab him, we're going to get some little thin line of the Doom Bolt, and we're just going to find the pattern, and we're just going to go across it. And we're not going to do all of it, we're just going to do what's effectively going to be in the sunlight. And we're going to do the same for his leather here, going down the edges, maybe around that, and that there. We're not going to go too crazy with it, but that's what we're going to do. Right, let's see if we can crack on. Right guys, so we're going to get onto some of the ink game now. So we've actually got Carroburg Crimson, Seraphim Sepia, Agrax Earthshade and Reclaimed Fleshshade. These are all different types of reds and browns. But Carroburg Crimson, I'm going to start with this one. This is going to be painted all over the loincloths and capes of the miniatures, and we're going to give it a more of a reddish hue, and this is going to be for when we're going to actually start dry brushing this later on onto the actual models. So I'm painting all, like I said, all the cloths, all the line areas. I don't know if I'm still in shot. I always have to correct myself. This is going to be any sort of crotch areas, crotch line cloths. These are the bits you should not have hit with the with the Doom Bolt, and if you can see from the Doom Bolt there, it's actually created a nice little shade. And just make sure that you coat all of the cloth. Carroburg Crimson, when that dries, it's going to give us a slightly different red hue. I'm going to do that on all the cloths themselves, and then we'll come back. While our Carroburg Crimson is drying, again, just put it onto the little bits of cloak. I'm now going to use Seraphim Sepia. This is going to be used all over the bone, but leave the horns alone. Don't do the horns just yet. We are going to do something special with the horn. So Seraphim Sepia is going to go all over the bone, apart from anything that looks like horns. So just apply liberally all over the bone. Don't be too worried if you get it onto the brown. Try and be careful when doing it. The little bits of bone on the grey. If you can, try and dab it onto those little bits. Have quite a bit on and dab, and that should put more towards the bottom than towards the top. And there is some just leaving the horn, making sure that all of that is covered. Again, trying to get quite a bit at the base. Right, let's continue. So as you can see, all nicely coated, all drying away. So the cloaks are nearly dry, they're drying away. Now we're on to the horns. So I'm going to show you what I mean, what I intend to do on this. Now we're going to need both Recon Flesh Shade and Agrax Earth Shade open. And we're going to kind of try and do a bit of wet blending. So we're going to coat them with Recon or Reichlin or whatever you want to call it. Coming on. And then before that dries, just try and mix towards the bottom. I know I went up on that one, but a wet blending on the actual bone itself. So putting a bit of this at the bottom, Reichlin at the top, but we're doing it while they're both still wet so they get to blend nicely. Once that's dry, well, all will be revealed. So basically do any other bone horns like this, and then last but not least, of course, it will be Agrax Earth Shade in the leather. And while we've got Agrax Earth Shade still open, put that onto the leather. Careful that you don't into your muscle men. You don't go over any of your gloss because they're already red. Gently over your leather. And then you've got to wait an age for this to dry. Okay, onto a bit of dry brushing now. Now all of that is dried. This took a while. And now the weapons should look quite nice. Coming on, we're going to get Tyrant Skull. We're going to use this for a hell of a lot of dry brushing. I've got various different dry brushes in front of me. So I've got a Citadel small, a medium and a large. I've also got some old brushes. That's a shade brush, I shouldn't do that. I've also got an old brush. This is mainly to coat up the bones and to do the different styles that I'm after. The first one I'm just testing, because I don't want any red. Seems a bit of red in that. Still needs proper cleaning, unfortunately. And I've left that in my video because everyone makes me think. Right, so I'm going to go for medium. As this, I know this one's clean because this is quite a new brush. So we're going to heavily hit the bone. So not the horns, just the bone. Weapons mainly. And we're going to dry brush heavily backwards and forwards. As best as we possibly can, and then on the smaller bits like the edges and the bits that we don't think we're just going to get a little bit on, that's when we're going to use the smaller dry brushes, such as the Citadel small on that one. But yeah, get some heavy dry brush on all the bone, and then of course just do a little bit of dry brushing. Ooh. I do have another pot of Tyrant Skull. It's a fantastic colour. I really do enjoy Tyrant Skull. There's a dry brush. Dry brushing's quite easy. I mean, effectively we're just going up and down. Heavy dry brush just to get the majority of the bone. Try not to get it on anything else though. Now, just a bit of a tip. I try not to get any water on these, try to keep them as dry as I possibly can. So we've done majority of the bone that we can do with the bigger brush. We're going to go on smaller brushes, but before we do, I'm going to lightly dry brush. Let's make sure the majority of this is off. I'm going to lightly dry brush the furs and pelts. And we're going to do that just in an upward motion. Just to catch the edges. Well, actually just to follow the edges. So any fur and pelts just going to catch, just to finish it off. And like I said, the reason we're doing that is because I don't want to wet my brush. I have to wait for it to properly dry again before you get the perfect sort of dry brush. So not a lot, just a little bit on the edges of the furs. This is just to try and make them stand out a little bit more against the other browns that we've already got. Sometimes you pick up, like there's a Chaos Star in the middle of him, and you can pick up some additional details which will need addressing when I come to it. But that's just on top of the contrast that we've already done. So the bones and spikes have been done. I've been using this small dry brush. Now we're going to continue with this small dry brush. The furs have been dry, and then we're going to a decent amount, not too much, but a decent amount on the edges. I'm going to start doing some horns. Now what we're going to do is dry brush it more towards the top, leaving the bottom. You've always got that ascending brown. You might need to, because I'm using a small one, so we've got maximum control, and we're going against the ridges. We're not going two different ways, we're just going against the actual ridges. And like I said, we're not going all the way down. And this will make it more light at the top. And we're going to do this on all the horns. Now, a little different. These guys, I've done these spikes slightly differently. Let's see if I just get a bit of dry brush paint. And I just basically go backwards and forwards closer to the tip. Maybe even just like every now and again, the one or two strokes further down. And that will make that look like an ascending board. So they are definitely coming along now. Squad is really starting to shape up. Still got a couple of bits that need painting. But the fur's looking alright, the leather's looking alright, the bones looking alright. They are quite one-dimensional in their colours. But next, might surprise you, I'm just going to show you a little trick with this. Now I want the actual figure to have a bit of a glow, so we're going to hit it with some Nylax oxide. We're going to use my thin brush, and I'm going to paint dollops on the inside, so we're going to build it up. So if you can see there, don't be too worried if you get it onto the outside of the skin. So what we're just going to do is just rub it away. And that flows in there beautifully, giving it a nice Chaos Star. I'm trying to avoid too many reds in this. I don't want them to look like corn berserkers, really. Right, so the next stage, we're going to tidy up the helmets, which I've already done with our contrast colour, and I've also tidied up the rope, and I've painted and tidied up the hair on these guys. So for the hair, we're going to use black, yellow and Blood Angels red. So Templar black, Nazdrag yellow and Blood Angel contrast red on all three of the different hair, just to finish them off, just to put it on with a shade brush or whichever brush you actually prefer. And then the helmets we're going to do with the black. And on the helmets for the black, I'm going to use my trusty, probably a medium layer brush. I can just get this guy up here for you. You might need, depending on how you like your black, but you might need to do 2 coats of this. So I've done the black and I'm letting that dry at the moment. I'm going to old school it, because of course old school wise any rope was yellow, and that's what I'm doing with this, even though it looks more like a whip rope. It's simply because I like the idea of that being a yellow rope. I'm not going to go into all of it, simply because of course you've got that little bit there which I'll just hit with the brown. Could leather it, but I'm trying again to make sure we're not spending too long. We're just getting these onto the battlefield. So next up we're going to move on to metallics, which is going to be the lead belcher, which is for any of the chainmail or the pierce, and the rest, which is mainly the symbol, the bullhorn symbol, is going to be screaming bell, which is a nice sort of brassy colour. We've still got the red to do, and the reason I've been putting off the red is because we're going to do that last, simply because I don't want to have to use all the brushes and then clean everything and then wait for it to dry and everything else before I can use it again. But we'll come to those in a moment. We are going to need dry brushing for that, but we're going to crack on now with lead belcher, and like I say, we're going to make sure you shake it properly. Better. And I'm just going to apply this. I don't think metallics work too well if you thin them down, so I'm just going to apply that onto any chainmail, and that's going to be screaming bell, and anything like that is going to be screaming bell as well. And now onto the screaming bell. Again, we're just going to coat this entire ram's head in this colour. And once we come on, that's it. Yeah, wanting to do a bit more of a sustained thing, you can, with the screaming bell, you could actually paint it black first. Now that we've got the brass on, I've also redone the helmets with the black as well, so they look a little bit better for myself. I prefer to coat on that. We're going to hit and coat all the brassy, sort of the scorpion brass with, I believe that's what it's called, screaming bell, sorry, old paint. And then we're going to hit it with Agrax Earthshade Gloss, but before we do that, got the wrong one of them as well. Come on, Paul. Right, Griff Charger Grey. We're going to put this on the silver, and the reason we're going to put this on the silver is because, I'm going to put it quite quickly, it kind of does the effort of shading, and it doesn't, the shade itself is not as intense and as known oil, and then having to go back over it again with another silver. So if you're doing little stretches or you're doing chainmail on the underneath of a night, to me it's highly recommended because it makes it look a little darker as well. It's a good colour to use, it's a bit like a wash. Right, and like I say, Agrax Earthshade, put that on. Agrax Earthshade Gloss, sorry, we're going to put that on the brass. Right, while the Agrax Earthshade Gloss is drying, let's get the reds out. So we're going to need two particular red colours. We're going to need corn red, and we're going to need Mephiston, if this is alright. Actually no, sorry, we're going to need Evil Sons, apologise. So, I don't know. Yeah, Evil Sons, just for the edges. So we're going to get our trusty little made up dry brush, or you can, of course, you can use this one as well. And for some of the bigger pieces, we're going to use the large one. Get rid of them too. And all we're going to do is to create it in circular motion. So we're going to go with corn red first, and we've put a red tint on our cloaks anyway, simply because we used some Carabird Crimson on them earlier. You can see that there, I can't see you on the screen. Just adjust that, and then we're going to make sure a lot of it's off. and I'm going to kind of hit it in a circular motion. Same as the underneath, and trying not to hit anything else. And like a lot of you will be saying, why didn't you do this beforehand? It's because red is a very, very dark colour. It's easier with the brushes to do later. And then, like I say, you're going to get the smaller dry brush. I'm going to do the smaller blocks. That's completely dry. So, as you can see from some of the other guys, we've dry brushed the backs of we've dry brushed some of the cloths and everything with the red. We're now going to dry brush with the Evilson Scarlet, but this is going to be a light dry brush. We're not going to, apologies for the arm, there's quite a lot on there, I didn't need to. Not sure what bristles I mean. Alright, this is going to be a lighter dry brush, and we're just going to sort of caress the edges in a left and right motion. We're not going to sort of cut the whole thing. We're just going to get the edges of the cloaks. And we'll do that on the smaller ones as well. Backwards and forwards motion, and there we go. Base them up now, painting the skulls on the bases. I'm just going to stick some more little bits on, some little tufts, but that's pretty much it. It shouldn't take you too long to be able to crack out that squad. And some of the techniques are very quick, cracking, and make it look particularly awesome. Because it's all bone weapons, you haven't got to do a lot of metallics, which I was actually very, very surprised at. I'm used to using a lot of metallics in my work. Well, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the quick tutorial. I hope you're able to follow it if you do decide to do something yourself. Keep following, because I'm going to have the beasts on next. That should be next week after this one, and then of course I'm going to do a bit of terrain making on the Warcry, how to actually paint the terrain bits. I know there's been a big gap between the iron golems and these guys, but I was painting sanguinis during the time. Right, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button for more. You can support us through PayPal if you want to make a donation. That's over at my website, rootstem.co.uk, and you can also hit me up if you are after some commission work. Don't get me wrong, I don't just do stuff like this for you guys, depending of course upon the price range that you select. You can have this if you want, it's a bit cheaper, or of course you can always have something higher. Well, thank you very much for watching, see you next time.